1944, World War II came to Palau, and particularly to the small island state of Peleliu. The battle raged here for 74 days between Japanese Imperial Forces, the US Marine Corps and the US Army, with a loss of life of in excess of 13,000 personnel. In 2009, Clear Ground came to Palau and established the first proactive explosive remnants of war clearance team. With funding support recently gained from Australian aid, the team has been able to expand and is operating in a wide variety of harsh and difficult conditions. The terrain here in Palau is extremely varied, from pristine oceans to murky mangroves and caves. The mangrove clearance has been a difficult but interesting task that the Clear Ground team has been carrying out with Australian aid support. The Japanese military in 1944 laid numerous defensive minefields in any suspected approach that the American forces could take. So large 106-pound sea mines were placed in the shallows of the mangroves, also around hills and also around any suspected landing site, such as the beautiful beaches that we find here in Palau. The mangrove clearance is harsh, it's smelly and it's extremely dirty, but I'm extremely proud to say that the National ERW clearance team from Clear Ground is working successfully to rapidly rid this small island nation of these horrific devices. Post-battle here, in every theatre in World War II, thousands of tons of unused ordnance or unexploded ordnance was dumped in the oceans, out of sight and out of mind. However, now that ordnance is leaking, it is damaging marine life and damaging coral life. So the Clear Ground Australian aid funded team is prioritising leaking ordnance here in Palau to remove it and destroy it so that it is gone once and for all. Underwater clearance is generally much slower than land clearance, and it takes a much different mindset. Once the ordnance is located, it is then made ready to bring to the surface. Bringing the ordnance to the surface requires meticulous detail and the use of remote control lift bags. Clear Ground doesn't believe in blowing up ordnance within the pristine environment of Palau, which is the most marine biodiverse country in the North Pacific. Clear Ground believes in bringing that ordnance onto land and destroying it in a controlled environment. Another interesting aspect of Clear Ground's work here in Peleliu is the clearance of cave and tunnel systems that were established by the Japanese Imperial Forces. These caves are both natural and man-made and were heavily fortified and defended during a 74-long-day battle. Today, the caves contain a myriad of artifacts and some horrific items of ordnance that are difficult to clear. However, the Clear Ground team, following successful training and the establishment of new clearance methodologies, have been able to commence this harsh and difficult task. The ordnance here in Palau is extremely randomly spread. It can be in remote areas or it can be in the centre of town. In addition, the terrain is extremely rugged, and recently Clear Ground removed a 100-pound US bomb from behind a gas station off a cliff face in the centre of Koror. You can imagine the difficulties in operating up a 60-foot sheer cliff face, surrounded by jungle and only 200 metres away from one of the main gas stations. All this must be taken into account when you're conducting a render safe procedure or a removal operation. Because of the fragile environment here, we believe in rendering safe items of ordnance we've found, transporting them to one of our central demolitions ranges, where we conduct controlled, high explosive demolitions utilising modern day explosives to get rid of old and unstable World War II ordnance. Clearing the ordnance physically creates a trail through the battlefield. So what we've been able to establish with funding from Australian aid is the Battle of Peleliu Jungle Trail. And this allows visitors to the island to gain first-hand experience of what conditions were like for both the Japanese Imperial Military and the US Marine Corps and the 81st Infantry here in 1944. In addition, it also allows tour operators here within Palau to offer a new attraction and increase their revenue as a result. An important part of Clear Ground's work here in Palau is our community outreach programme, whereby we conduct door-knock surveys and door-knock risk awareness, as well as community meetings to make the population aware of the dangers of unexploded ordnance. In addition, we also host community awareness events and also talks to national ministries and agencies. Clear Ground trains all of its staff to international mine action standards, following Clear Ground's strict standard operating procedures, and regularly conducts refresher training for all personnel, as well as skills development training and complementary training such as small engines courses, block laying and concreting. Clear Ground, with its support from its international donors such as Australian aid and its national team, Palauans clearing Palauan land, Palau will be unexploded ordnance free as soon as possible.